What is a residential care for the elderly? Residential care facilities for the elderly, or RCFEs, sometimes called assisted living, which are greater than 16 beds, or the board and care, which are usually 4 to 6 beds, are non-medical facilities that provide room, meals, housekeeping, supervision, storage, and distribution of medication and personal care assistance with basic activities like hygiene, dressing, eating, bathing, and transferring. Residential care facilities for the elderly, RCFEs, serve persons 60 years of age and older. This level of care and supervision is for people who are unable to live by themselves but who do not need 24-hour nursing care. They are considered non-medical facilities and are not required to have nurses, certified nursing assistants, or doctors on staff. So, how does a residential care facility for the elderly differ from an assisted living facility? From a licensing standpoint, there is no difference. In California, facilities describing themselves as assisted living and offering personal care and supervision are licensed as residential care facilities for the elderly, or RCFEs. Most RCFEs are dominated by smaller, usually 6 and up to 15 beds. They're locally owned facilities with private and shared rooms. Larger facilities usually offer private apartments and tend to be corporately owned. Many larger facilities have different fee options depending on the type of care needed. Are residential care facilities for the elderly regulated? Yes, they are. Residential care facilities for the elderly or assisted living facilities must meet care and safety standards set by the state and are licensed and inspected by the Department of Social Services Community Care Licensing. Senior housing complexes, retirement villages, or retirement hotels that provide only housing, housekeeping, and meals are not required to be licensed as residential care facilities for the elderly. Are residential care facilities for the elderly required to have liability insurance? Yes. As of 2015, all RCFEs are required to maintain liability insurance in the amount of at least $1 million per occurrence and $3 million annually to cover injuries to residents or guests caused by the negligence of the facility owner or employees. The California Health and Safety Code. Can a residential care facility for the elderly care for persons with dementia? Maybe. It depends. Some facilities offer special services to persons with dementia if they meet certain licensing requirements. Make sure that the facility has experience in providing dementia care and meets all of the state licensing standards to provide dementia care. Grand Villa does have trained staff to meet residents with dementia and has experience dealing with dementia residents. Will a residential care facility for the elderly accept or retain someone who needs medical care? It will depend on the type and severity of the medical condition or conditions and whether the facility meets the state licensing standards for the restricted health conditions. Some medical conditions are not allowed in a residential care facility for the elderly, such as tube feeding or treatment of open bed sores. The facility must inform residents in writing at or before the time of admission of any resident retention limitations set by the state or facility, such as whether the facility can serve persons who need help in leaving the building in case of emergency, like a non-ambulatory or with certain medical conditions, such as a hospice waiver. What if my medical needs increase? Can I stay? Again, maybe. Since a residential care facility is not licensed as a medical facility, persons requiring tube feeding, treatment of open bed sores, or 24-hour nursing care are not permitted to reside in RCFEs. However, some RCFEs have permission to care for persons on hospice. Grand Villa works with most hospice services and is qualified for hospice residents. What are the qualifications for staff? Training requirements for administrators and staff have increased significantly. The certification program for administrators have increased to 80 hours from 40, and the state proctored exam have increased to 100 questions from 40. Staff training requirements have increased to 40 hours of training in the first year and 20 hours of ongoing training each following year. Dementia care training requirements have increased and required for all RCFE staff and not just for those RCFEs that advertise dementia care. Training requirements for staff who assist residents with the self-administration of medication also have increased. The California Health and Safety Code. Minimal qualifications. Administrators must be 21 years of age and possess a high school diploma or equivalent for facilities of 15 beds or less. These comprise over 80% of all RCFEs. Now, for facilities of 16 to 49 beds, the administrator needs 15 college credits. And for facilities of greater than 50 beds, they need 2 years of college or 3 years experience, or equivalent education and experience. Staff must only be 18 years of age and pass the criminal background check. Note, because RCFEs are non-medical facilities, there is no requirement for RNs, LVNs, or CNAs, or any medically trained personnel. Check on the qualifications of the administrator and key staff. One Grand Villa administrator has a doctorate in chiropractic and practiced over 34 years, and the other administrator has a 4-year Bachelor of Arts. And both have worked extensively with the elderly. Are there any staff ratios? There is not any specific staff to resident ratio for assisted living residential care facilities. California law requires the facility personnel shall at all times be sufficient in numbers, qualifications, and competency to provide the services necessary to meet resident needs and to ensure their health, safety, comfort, and supervision. There must be at least one administrator or designated substitute with qualifications adequate to be responsible for the management and administration of the facility beyond premises 24 hours per day. The California Health and Safety Code. The facility must also have at least one staff member trained in CPR and first aid on duty and on the premises at all times. A California Health and Safety Code. All staff at Grand Villa have taken first aid courses, and all staff at Grand Villa are CPR certified. And while there are no given ratios for both facilities, Grand Villa has a 6-to-2 ratio, meaning there are 2 staff on duty at all times for 6 residents. For a larger facility, which is 16 beds or more, usually is a 16-to-1 ratio. The personal care with a 6-to-2 ratio means more personalized attention on the resident, and it's more comforting to see a familiar face compared to a larger assisted living facility. There are a lot of requirements for staff. In fact, there is ongoing training for all staff at Grand Villa throughout the year. In regards to night supervision, for facilities with 15 or fewer residents, there must be one qualified person on call and on the premises. In facilities with 16 to 100 residents, there must be one person awake and on the premises, and another on call and capable of responding within 10 minutes. CCR Title 22. What are the costs for assisted living or an RCFE? The cost depends on a variety of factors, such as the type of accommodations, such as an apartment or a private room or a shared room, the range of services needed, and the geographic area. Costs ranging from a low of around $2,000 a month for a resident on Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, to a high of about $11,000 a month. Generally, $4,000 to $5,000 a month is an average medium to start. Specialized services like dementia or hospice care are more costly. Is there a limit on how much facilities can raise private pay rates? No. Since residential care is a private business, providers will charge what the market will bear. However, facilities must issue 60-day notices to increase rates, but can raise charges for a level of care changes immediately and provide notice within 2 working days. See the California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform fact sheet on admission agreements. Can facilities charge a pre-admission fee? Yes. Some providers charge nothing or a minimum amount to cover cost of conducting an assessment, obtaining medical records, and setting up files. Others charge fees of thousands of dollars. Demand a written description of what the fees cover. Negotiate the amount if too high, or look for another facility. Facilities are prohibited from charging security deposits, but may ask for a deposit to hold the room and apply towards the first month's costs. Who pays the bill for residential care for the elderly or assisted living? Most people must pay privately for care. Long-term care insurance only covers a very small percentage of people. There's very limited public funding through Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, for RCFE residents who qualify for this program. Check the fact sheet on SSI in a residential care facility. Unfortunately, the SSI rate is so low that fewer and fewer facilities will accept persons on SSI because it doesn't cover the overhead costs. Now, aid and attendance is a benefit paid by Veterans Affairs to veterans, veteran spouses, or surviving spouses that may help pay for residential care. Will Medicare or Medi-Cal pay? No. Because these are not medical facilities, neither Medicare nor Medi-Cal pays directly for residential care or assisted living. There is a special program in 14 California counties called the Assisted Living Waiver Program, in which Medi-Cal pays for the eligible residents assessed to need nursing home level care to live in an RCFE or public housing. That is mostly reserved for families with very little money or support. Again, for the best care, private pay is the norm. For a safe, clean, and secure RCFE, check out our website at www.escondidoseniorcare.com or call 858-231-3933 for more info or a tour of Grand Villa.